Roofing profiles that we've audited that don't follow this exact strategy are leaving dozens of highly qualified calls on the table every single month. Now, you're going to see two scans on the screen, one of a business that has the physical address and one that's barely even seen on Google. And we're going to break down exactly why. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why this happens, and more importantly, you're going to have an actual playbook on how to become one of these top-ranked roofing companies around your city. The plan is pretty simple. Still, we're going to be trying to get that physical address verified, but today we're going to go into exactly why the service area business just doesn't really rank and the theory behind it. We're going to show some math talking about how to expand into new locations as well, and when it actually makes sense to try and get one of these physical addresses located in some kind of new target market around your city. And finally, we're going to go over the timeline that it usually takes to take over a new location like this and actually dominate another subsection of your map of your target area. Now, let's begin by looking at the service area business here. Obviously, it's not ranking anywhere, right? I'd be surprised if these guys even rank 20, and does it look like they are. They're completely dropped off the map right now. They don't show up anywhere within this grid scan for roof repair near me. And they're even getting outranked by like some pretty small guys. You can see here, this one has 13 reviews, but because they actually have a physical address in their profile, they can rank for something within the area, right? We're going to talk about exactly why and the theory behind this in just a minute. But look at this. They've got 27 reviews, and honestly, 4.9 isn't that bad. We can even see if there are any recent reviews, and sure enough, these guys are in business. Not doing a whole lot 2 years ago, and then most recently 3 months ago for their review, but they are trying to rank on maps, and they're just non-existent, right? This is the importance of a physical address. This Google Business Profile right now is set to a service area, which doesn't have one of those addresses tied to it. And the graph speaks for itself. You can't rank for anything. Now, when you're setting up your Google Business Profile, you can stuff as many cities in there as you possibly want. All you're trying to do is tell Google where you would like to be servicing those customers. Every single roofer that we've talked to that has figured this out early on has a massive advantage over the ones that are still wondering why their service area business isn't ranking. You need that physical address, then put in those service areas. They are still useful, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. You still need to have those service areas in your Google Business Profile and not just have the physical address itself. Now, the comparison, and it's honestly pretty obvious. Same keyword term, roof repair near me. This has moved over by about, I believe, about half a mile. And look at that. The service area business gets completely blown out of the water. And yes, these guys do have more reviews, up at 843. They're one of the top ranked ones over here, but the point stands. Anybody with a physical address over here is just destroying the competition if you're a service area business. You just stand no chance with this, right? The physical location business is pulling the map pack rankings across a huge chunk of the grid. The service area business is more or less just fighting for scraps. They have nothing to hang on to over here. Just by simply placing a physical address in your profile, you are head and shoulders above these other service area-based businesses. The circle right there is the proximity turned into straight up cash and closed deals for the business owner. Now, getting into just a little bit of the theory on this in case you guys are curious, again, Google comes down to 3 factors for ranking: relevance, distance, and prominence. We've been talking about this in recent videos. Relevance is obviously how closely your match is tied to the search. Prominence is how established you look, reviews, links, and overall presence. But that only explains 2 factors with the grid. And last is distance. How far is your business from the person actually searching for you? If a homeowner in Aurora searches for a roofing company and you're physically in Aurora with your Google Business Profile and your physical address, you have a built-in advantage over a roofer that's, say, 3, 4, 5 miles out, just listing their service areas in their Google Business Profile, trying to rank in that area. Eventually, distance is king at a certain point. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that the closest roofer always wins. A stronger company you see can rank further away with more service areas and actually outrank a weaker profile. But distance is baked into the algorithm every single time, and these grids show you exactly how much that's worth. Now, let's talk about local SEO and the map pack and the inner workings of the algorithm behind it just for a second, so you guys can kind of understand this. Local SEO is a proximity-driven algorithm based on top of the Google Maps matrix that carries weights between different locations. Now, in human terms, really it just means it's a map with distances, okay? Different nodes on the network, and there's different roads and areas connecting different cities, streets, municipalities, you name it. And since it's proximity driven because it's a map, you don't actually exist on a physical point on the map if you don't have a physical point on the map. And you can't rank close to anything if you don't appear on the map physically, right? It's pretty simple. This is why the service area businesses without a physical address are basically worthless as far as it goes for SEO. You can't rank near anything without actually being anywhere on the map, right? You just don't exist. Now, what you need to do is you need to stand up most of these profiles as service area businesses first, and then you add a physical address later on. This is a bunch of hate that we get all the time, people saying that service area businesses do or they don't have a place. Well, they do, because you usually need a service area business first. You can kind of build some SEO, get the ground running, and then you can actually add the physical address later on once you've ran some SEO to the profile. That's the standard procedure we've seen the most success with when trying to stand one of these new ones up. We get on a discovery call every single week with another business owner who's been tricked into thinking that the service area businesses work, and that really they're just going to do the trick for you. And they're just not. Most marketing companies don't want to go through the hassle and the legwork of actually verifying a physical address with you on the profile. It's hard. That's the simple reason. It's not easy to do this correctly. You need to go through a very lengthy procedure and a review process, submit video verification, index citations, propagate NAP data, build out the site, build all kinds of trust signals. It's not easy, okay? But it is necessary. And transparently at my company, we don't even take on service area businesses and try and run SEO to these profiles. It's a waste of my time, my clients' time, the resources, and honestly, it's just a waste overall. So don't get fooled there. Now, something I do want to cover on this topic just briefly here for a second. Service area and service area businesses are two different things, okay? Every single Google business profile that has a physical address that's actually verified still has service areas. If you've ever tried to optimize Google Business Profile before, you know there actually are service areas down there, and that's not what I'm talking about here. The service area profile is the one that has a physical address either hidden or just omitted, and that is the detail that cannot be ignored. So let's talk about expansion for just a second, okay? Say you're a roofing company and you're crushing it in Lakewood or Aurora over here, and you want to move to Aurora or Lakewood or further into Denver, east, south, whatever, right? Strategy one is the service area play on your existing GBP, and this is just basic SEO, right? As soon as you get the physical address in your Google Business Profile, you add the service areas, you build out their location pages, you try and show prominence around the map in these locations. That's fine, that's standard SEO. Now, the second is actually trying to stand up a new physical address and presence in one of these new locations. You want to stack new jobs, photos, reviews, and push local relevance as hard as you can on the new assets you're making for that new profile. And it works, it brings in real business, but understand what you're doing. Now, strategy two is obviously preferred, and it's the physical expansion play. Okay, you open a second location, you get the real office, you start running jobs out of that office in the new market, and Google starts to see the business in that new location because it is located there. The service area profile just says we work around there. The physical address one actually says we work there, and that's what Google's trying to get after. In a proximity-based system, the difference is the whole game. You have to be located there within the map pack to actually begin ranking in that location with your physical address. The rest of this video is going to focus on the second strategy of actually picking that location for the second profile. We're going to highlight exactly how we do it, running math, and figuring out exactly where it's worth it to go after one of these new profiles. Most roofers pick their expansion city based on where they already get calls and where the owner lives, which is usually completely the wrong approach. First off, you want to run scans of your core keyword across the entire city you're considering. You're looking for about 1 to 3 things. First is weak incumbents. If the map pack is in the city and it's full of profiles with 30 reviews, or if you're lucky, a bunch of dead websites, then the market is pretty soft and it's pretty easy to penetrate, right? Second is demographics, because you actually want to be located near where people have the propensity to pay for higher ticket services, right? You probably don't want to rank a new profile or get it stood up in a place where it just has a lot of smaller maintenance contracts. You're probably looking for more of those heavier roof damage jobs that come with insurance payouts, right? Now, there's a few different ways you can find these jobs and these demographics. And one of the easiest ways, if you're a legacy company looking to expand into a new market, would be your CRM data. Just go through your CRM, right? You guys know the market, you know the jobs, you know exactly where the most profitable ones are hiding out at, you know the best ROI, you know the best neighborhoods to go after, right? Drop one of your profiles around that area to target that new location. Double down on the demographics that are already working. And on top of that, obviously, consider operations too, right? Usually in these large expansion projects, their clients, we have to talk about the operational lever to it, because that's a lot. Sometimes you guys don't want to drive further for the job. Sometimes you have more maintenance contracts based in certain areas, more of a pest control problem. But This is where you guys need to start considering the operational boundaries of your new Google Business profile. Would it actually be worth it to start driving over there? Can you set up a new operation? Is the Google Business profile that we're going to get tied to this new area, is it going to be a warehouse? Is it just a turnaround office? Is it a laydown yard that we can actually source materials from and drop off trucks and trailers? This all goes into the factor in the conversation. So from here, I just like to do a little bit of very simple, quick and easy math, okay? And really, you're just looking for a few numbers. It's not that bad. Now, number one is, what is that new target market actually already paying you? I'm sure if you guys are targeting a new market, 9 times out of 10, you've already gotten some jobs from there, right? So from your CRM, I want you guys to go pull all the money you've cash collected in the past 12 months from that new location. Next, we're going to look at the exact ranking factor that you actually have in that area, right? Do you already hold a 4? Do you hold an 8? Do you hold a 20? Are you non-existent? Is it an entire new city, right? We're going to take a look at that. We're going to estimate search volume. We're going to try and find out how many clicks and how many jobs have come from that search volume in that location with probably a very poor ranking. And we're going to assume, based on industry numbers and averages, if you were to obtain the top 1, 2, 3, and 4 spots, your click-through rate is going to go much, much higher, right? Usually people are going to be converting to your Google Business profile from regular cold traffic, such as about 200 to 600 monthly searches at around a 30 to 35% conversion rate. So if you're getting about, if the search volume, for example, has about 500 searches per month, and you've got about a 30% CTR rate on that, you're looking at about anywhere from 150 to 200 clicks a month. Now, 150 clicks a month on a website that's actually converting this warm traffic at around 30 to 35% on page is what most of our landing pages convert at for this. You're closing it anywhere between 5 to 6 jobs off that pretty easily, right? You can actually penetrate this new market and start to do some quick math and see if it's actually going to ROI on the service. Now, one really brief nuance I want to highlight here, you have to be careful of exactly when you run these numbers. Obviously, if you're going to run them in peak season, you're not going to have the same numbers come fall and spring, and not even close in the winter, right? Make sure you average these calculations out across the entire year so you get a very, very accurate estimate. From here, everything gets pretty simple, right? We've already knocked out the distance problem. Now we're going to go after relevance. And a lot of this comes down to reviews. Your review velocity in the first 90 days usually sets the tone for the new profile. Adding anywhere from 8 to 10 reviews a month usually looks like a business that's on the rise, and Google begins to actually notice that. Now, you want to be careful early on in the profile because it's not quite baked yet, but you can actually begin to start funneling these reviews to it much more aggressively, I'd say after about 2 to 3 weeks, but it depends. On the location page, you want a dedicated landing page tied to that Google Business profile. Obviously, we've been talking about this in other videos. You want relevant projects, photos, reviews, all embedded on the site, and services that you're actually running at that location. Do not copy and paste another simple location page from the site and just swap the city name and a few images. You need to make sure you have dedicated, locally relevant content on that new page so Google picks it up as a real, authentic Google Business profile location, right? The landing page and the profile are very, very closely tied together. You need real site photos, okay, uploaded ideally consistently to the Google Business profile as well. That's how you're going to start to outrank the other profiles that are just parked and waiting around for you to take their search. And of course, you got to set up the recurring grid scans, right? Roughly on a timeline. And of course, make sure you set up those recurring scans with Local Dominator, Local Falcon, Bright Local. Any of these tools work just fine, okay? Just want to make sure you're tracking things from the beginning so you have accurate data. Now, the first 1 or 2 months, usually the profile verifies, and it's going to start registering close to the pin. You're going to see a few, probably around 4s and 5s come up originally, and ideally maybe a small green cluster, okay? Month 3 through 6 is a lot more review stacking, location page, off-page SEO, NAP data syndication, indexation, which is a massive problem right now, and this cluster is going to start to expand further outward. You start taking the map pack spots from the incumbents that you scouted out in your previous step. All these profiles and all these business owners that are asleep at the wheel are just waiting for you to take their map pack rankings. Month 6 through 12, and you're starting to actually feel it, okay? Closer to month 12 is usually when we see most campaigns start to mature, and you start to see the grids, some resembling something like this. Now, it's naive to expect you can rank number 1 across the entire city of your target market. You can go run scans all afternoon, and no one has a core keyword like roof repair near me ranking 1 across their entire city. Other niche type keywords, yes, so set your expectations accordingly, but you should start to see some sort of ranking around here by anywhere from month 8 to 12. Now, this all sounds like a pie in the sky, right? get a new profile, you start closing new deals, and within 12 months, in about a year's time, you guys are, swimming in more leads. And it's not all sunshine and rainbows, okay? There's a few different things you guys do need to focus on to make sure that this is all going to go smoothly. And one of those is review velocity. So many of our new profiles that we stand up for clients usually just end up flatlining because the review velocity just isn't there. The profile gets maybe 12 reviews in about 6 weeks, and those ones are cooking. The profiles that get less, and we're talking about maybe 1 review a week at most, and they just sink. Now, one really simple fix for this is just taking the review requests out of the human hands. And yeah, you can incentivize operators to get reviews, which is really helpful sometimes. But if you just have an automated process either built out in Go High Level or Zapier to actually contact and follow up with people for 5-star reviews after the jobs, usually you can start garnering a lot more reviews from each one of these jobs. Very, very important to have that set up, and it's something we do as a staple for all of our clients at this point. Now, another way this can go wrong is the location page just isn't pulling its weight, and it can do this in a number of different factors. So the pin on the map pack obviously handles the distance, but the page handles the relevance and the conversions, okay? If the page isn't indexed, you're not going to be ranking for anything if it's some kind of thin templated content page, which again, we'll talk about more in future videos. What you need to check is the page needs to be indexed by Google, and does it rank anywhere in the top 20 for your main keyword term? Type in the terms and look for how you rank within that new location. Now, you need to look for those keywords and start baking that into the content, okay? Every completed project in the market becomes content. Literally everything. Photos, a short project write-up, the neighborhood, the reviews that you just got from that location, anything. And internal links from your strongest pages need to be funneled towards this service page. Again, we've talked about linking structure in previous videos. Usually adjacent location pages want to link to each other, whereas these new location pages always want to link up towards the home page. It's very simple. Now, symptom number 4 of this not going well is sometimes you just pick the fight with the wrong guy, right? SEO is becoming more and more competitive by the day. More people like me are trying to get these profiles stood up for their clients to actually try and get you guys more ranking and more jobs. And sometimes somebody else notices the new pin in the market too, and they started pushing reviews and content of their own and going after their own DBP setup over here. And it can be difficult, right? Now it becomes just a battle of who can do the SEO the fastest, the strongest, the best, the most clean, and who can get the most reviews, right? Now, I'm not saying that it's impossible to outrank these competitors because we do it all the time, but your timeline does have to extend. A market where an incumbent is actively defending takes a lot longer than a market where it's asleep and you can just walk right in, right? The math from step 2, it totally still works, right? But you do need to start planning and budgeting for a longer timeline. Depending on your market, if you're at a tier 1 or tier 2 city, this can easily extend the timeline by at least 3 to 4 months. But it is worth it in the end. So if you're going to be expanding into another city, you have to decide what kind of play you're going to be running. The service area play is great for a baseline, right? If you have an existing profile and you're trying to grow your map pack grid, start adding more service area locations, right? These SEO landing pages, talking about real jobs, real reviews, real projects you guys have finished in those locations, trying to expand your original location. And that makes sense. Or if you want to go the highly aggressive expansion play, which is much more fun, you can pick a market in the grid, look at the data, find out where the actual holes are, drop a new second location, get it verified with the physical address, stack reviews, stack relevance, touch up the site, get new NAP data propagated, and index it. They start cranking on leads, right? When the grid stalls, you have to diagnose it. And after that node starts ranking, all you have to do is re-diagnose the situation, figure out where you want to rank next, and then you're good to go, right? Run the grid in your own company today and just watch what happens as you move further and further away from your central pin. That one scan is going to teach you so much more than searching up your name on your phone in your office ever will. Go start up a really simple rank tracking software subscription like any of these, or build your own with the data for SEO API these days, and just see how you rank. And if you guys want a much more detailed breakdown and you guys are actually looking for a professional audit on your profiles, links in the description, happy to do it.